Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Soshtvi, and today we're talking about something very exciting, as you can tell from the title. We're talking about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. As you can tell, my eye makeup matches the book. So, some context. I read The Hunger Games when I was 13, I think, 7th to 8th grade. So, 13, so exactly 10 years back. I'm 23 right now. And I loved it. I was like obsessed with the books. I've read them many times. In fact, I'm in the middle of rereading those books right now. I have Mockingjay left to read this year, and I loved the movies. I got my family obsessed with the movies. I've been a huge fan. Katniss Everdeen was a big inspiration to me all my life. So I've loved the Hunger Games. I've loved it. Like Hunger Games, Percy Jackson, and Harry Potter were basically my identity for the longest time. And then we heard about this book coming out about 3 years ago, and I did not want to read it for a couple of reasons. First of all, prequels can often be, how do I say it? A lot of times prequels are written just for the sake of, and they don't do justice to the original story and the characters, and I end up not liking them. So I was afraid that this would like ruin my opinion of the world or the story or something, and I was just afraid to dive into it. Secondly, as you can tell, there's snakes in the title and the cover, and I figured there would be a lot of snakes in the book as well. And I have a deathly phobia of snakes. Like I just cannot handle it. Like I don't even look at the cover. I'm talking to you right now. I'm not looking. I can't handle snakes at all. So I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to get through the book. Cut to this year, like the news about the movie is going like wildfire. The trailer dropped. I watched the trailer. The trailer looked so good, and it looked so good, and I wanted to watch it. And I was like, how do I miss out on this big chunk of like the world that I've been obsessed with for so long, and that was part of my childhood. So I was like, you know what, I think I'll read the book. But I wanted to read the book close to the movie so I could read it and then immediately go to watch the movie and get like a side by side comparison. So yeah, the snakes, there were a lot of scenes, but at least now when I go in the movie, I will know what scenes to avoid, and I'll go with my sister. I'll have her hand to hold, and I hope I can make it through the movie. If not, it's okay. But we'll try to make it through the movie. Getting back to business, talking about the book, um, I loved it. Was it a 5 star? No. But I did really enjoy it. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, and I was not disappointed at all. President Snow has been such an intriguing villain, and he was one of the first few villains of his kind that I had encountered when I was 13. There's such an intrigue about him and the way he works, and like a certain a certain devious charm of sorts. So when I started reading the book, I went into this blind, to be honest, apart from what I've seen of the trailer. So I knew there would be like a Hunger Games and something around that, and I was not expecting it to be as it is. We'll talk about the first half. I loved the first half. It was super engaging. I think as soon as I hit chapter 4 is when I was like wrapped into it. I needed to read it at one go. Just getting to read about what the state was back then, when we were so fresh from having the war having just finished, and like the repercussions of that in the districts and in the capital was so interesting to me. And seeing Snow and his life and that academy that was there, and his sister and his grandmother, like it was very interesting. And I love that we got to see that, you know, the capital children weren't all evil. Like his sister was so sweet, and some of his classmates were actually good people. And then getting to see literally the beginning of the games and what they were like, and how they had started really like making the changes and bringing it to the point where we knew Hunger Games as we did by the 74th Hunger Games. Seeing, first of all the changes being introduced, especially by Snow himself, like he's the one who got these things in the games, like betting and the people being able to send gifts and stuff like that into the games as we know it now. um, Seeing how all of that developed was so interesting, but also like so like unnerving. Like it's just, every dystopian book always gives me the creeps, because it can very well be our reality, and their conversations, these worlds, the situations, the political state very well mirror our world. I feel like Suzanne Collins really hits the nerve on that. So it was so interesting to see that back in the day, this was just a thing where they thought that the capital children, these academy kids, should be the mentors to these kids. The very first time we see Lucy Gray Baird and her reaping, oh my god, I was, as we were reading the chapter, I was thinking of like, it has to be something interesting. Like, we got such an iconic reaping with Katniss, and I was like, she has to do something, but what? I could not think of what it would be, and I was not expecting it to be anything that we read in the book. Like, I was so caught off guard. I was like, is this for real? What is going on? Seeing Snow and Lucy's romance was also like, I feel like there were very, very few moments where I could feel it budding, but at the same time, it was unnerving me the entire time. And I couldn't place my finger on it initially, but I think it's because like he never truly loved her, and there were points where I thought that maybe he can love her, maybe there can be something, maybe there's room for growth, like he's gonna turn a corner. But at the same time, you know what happens in the rest of the books, and you know that's not gonna happen. And also, Lucy Gray was never mentioned in the original series, so I was like, okay, she has to die at some point in this book, right? And initially I thought it would be the kind of plot where it'd be like, oh, he lost the love of his life and that's what turned him onto this path. But instead, it's always been a part of him, and Lucy Gray could not come in the way of that either. A lot of his thought processes were eerie and just made me shiver, honestly, at some points. The way he would think about people, and the way he would think about making his next move and safeguarding himself and wanting the positions of power that were offered in this world. I really liked Lucy as a character. I think Suzanne Collins does a great job at writing female characters regardless, but she was such a good one. The way she was crafted in the games is exactly how she felt in the books. Like, she catches your attention. Every time she's on the page, she catches your attention. I think as the games were going on, I feel like the book slowed down a little bit. I was like, okay, I think we need to quicken the pace here, or maybe get things happening faster or get more things happening, because after a point I was like, this is becoming, there was a lot of commentary, I feel like, about like the time passing, as opposed to things actually happening one after the other, which has not been the case in the other games that we've seen. And then we came to the third part, which was him and his role as a peacekeeper, and I feel like that part of the book was what was unnecessary. It was not boring per se, but was uninteresting. And while I was reading it, I kept asking, why are we reading this? What is the purpose? I was not able to figure out the purpose of such a lengthy third half of the book. I feel like we could have cut it a lot quicker, but at the same time, when I sit to think about what we could cut and shorten it up as, I feel like all the scenes were important because of the end that we had. So I just feel conflicted about that third part of the book. However, that third part, as uninteresting and ambiguous and purposeless as it seemed, led to a great ending, because everything that we learn about the Kavi clan and Lucy and her sister, it was so interesting, and the way things eventually started unfolding between Snow and Lucy, and you could see them coming to an end. You could see that, oh god, this is not gonna end well. It felt kind of sad. Like, I kind of pitied Lucy, you know. I was like, for being the kind of character she is, to have fallen for Snow that way, kind of made me feel like, oh, poor thing, because Snow is narcissistic. That is what he is, and nothing comes above the power that he wants, not even the love of his life. Which, in my opinion, I don't think Lucy was a love of his life. I feel like there was potential for her to be the love of his life, but I don't think he fully understands what love is. Like, I feel like he loved the feeling that she made him feel, and the way she made him feel about himself, more than the fact that he loved her. I was a little confused as well, because in the Hunger Games, obviously, President Snow gives us the line that the ones that love us are the ones who destroy us, something like that. So I really thought we would circle back to that line in this book, and we would see the meaning of that take place in this book. And I feel like the direction she wanted us to go in was that, you know, because of the events that happened with Lucy is where their line spawned from. But then again, he never really fully properly loved her. Coming to Lucy, all the music, I'm so excited to hear the music in the movie, because I saw the interview of Rachel Zegler, or Ziegler, And she was talking about how the original lyrics from the book has been taken for the movie, just like in the Hunger Games. So Susan Collins, these lyrics in the book have been interpreted into music for the movie. So I'm so excited to see the music and how that's incorporated, because there was a lot of music in the book. I was not expecting there to be this much music. I feel like I've heard a lot of conflicting opinions about the end. Some people believe that Lucy is alive, that she was hiding and she found a way to persevere and live under a different identity or whatever, and that Katniss is her direct descendant. And some people think that, it's Lucy's sister and Katniss is her descendant. I don't know. I would like to think that Lucy did die, for a couple of reasons. I feel like it would be so poetic, because that entire song that we got about Lucy and how she disappeared and people debating if she's a ghost or not, when you tie that up with the end that Lucy suffered and people never finding out what happened to her in the end, um, I feel like that's such a poetic connection. We also have the fact that she liked the name Katniss and her sister knew about it, and her sister could memorize every song that she ever sang. So she could have passed down that to Katniss. Like, if you really think about it, like, Snow loved her, but not enough, and he chose power over her. And he moved on to great heights, he became the president and everything, but ultimately, Katniss took her down, a descendant of the Kavi clan. And her music, the song that Lucy wrote, is the song that ultimately like was a catalyst in bringing the capital down and bringing President Snow down. Like, that was a huge motivator for the people. It was a sort of anthem for the people to revolt. Her singing, even the song Deep in the Meadow, when she sang it when Rue died, it was such a heartening moment for the nation. So, to see that he did everything possible to make sure that Lucy was never mentioned again and never thought of again, and just disappeared off the face of the earth. And yet, years later, Katniss comes around using her music and bringing his defeat, a direct descendant of the Kavi clan, and it almost feels like that was Lucy's hand playing there. He may have killed her, but she came right back. She came right back to haunt him. And there's something so about that. Like, I would love, oh god, what I would not give to see a perspective into Snow when he first hears Katniss singing Deep in the Meadow to Rue, and then the hanging tree later on in Mockingjay. Like, I cannot, like, the things that would have gone through his head. To summarize, I really liked the end. If she did survive, I can see why people say that, because, again, the songs and Katniss and all those things. But I can totally see her be a descendant of Lucy in the way that, she was her sister's. You know what I'm saying. I feel like reading this was an emotional experience, not because of the book or the content per se, but because I honestly feel like my 13-year-old self and my 23-year-old self reading the book together. Like I mentioned earlier, Katniss has been such a huge inspiration to me. To see what happened in the earlier stages of this nation and of the games, and see the snowball effect that we get later on in the games. I don't know, I just felt like once I finished the book, I felt like emotional, like, oh my god. So, this is what happened. It was a great perspective into him in his youth, into Lucy's story, and the 10th Hunger Games. I loved all of that, but yeah, in some places I do feel like it fell short. But I still love the book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It is a special book, and I am really excited to see the movie. We are going for it tonight. So yeah, honestly, in a few hours I will leave for the theater, and once I'm back, probably tomorrow morning, I will discuss my views about the movie and how it felt, next to the book. Did it live up to it? Did it surpass it? Was it better than the book? You never know. I am hopeful for the movie, I won't deny it. So let's see. Okay, everyone, what's up? It's the next day, and I watched the Hunger Games, the Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes movie. Went on day one, obviously, and I loved it. As you can see, I'm wearing my Mockingjay pin. I wore it to the movie because I'm a nerd. I ended up loving the movie. I really, really liked it. To review it, I ended up really liking the acting by everyone. All of them were well casted. We had some really talented people there, but even the newbies that I haven't really seen myself, especially Rachel Zegler and Tom Blythe, they did such an amazing job. Like, so many nuances to their characters, both of them, and especially Snow, and they pulled it off so well. And I saw a few people complaining about how the movie felt really lengthy and dragged down. That's what some people are saying, not all of them though. I personally did not feel that at all. I did not feel like the movie was like almost 3 hours long. I felt like it was adequately paced, in fact. I'm proud of the fact that they made the movie exactly the way they made the Hunger Games movies, which is they stuck to the book. They stuck to the plot of the book, word by word, scene by scene. And the book is really lengthy. It's bigger than the other Hunger Games books. So it's a very lengthy story. So they did cut down a lot from the books, which I'm okay with because, like I said, there's quite a bit in the book that I feel like is unnecessary and just dragged the plot. And they cut out all of that and made it tighter. I do feel like I went with my sister who hasn't read the book, and I was slowly realizing, both of us were realizing as we were watching the movie, that it might take people like a second or a third watch to truly grasp onto the things that were in the plot because there's so much happening that they were really setting the context sentence by sentence. So if you miss something or if you miss the lyrics of the song, you miss out on a lot of great context. But apart from that, I enjoyed the movie so much. It was like my heart was running through a lot of scenes. It was heartwarming, it was sad, it was emotional. The cast did great, and the ending, I was wondering how they would do the end, and they did it beautifully. And I don't think I spoke about this in my book review, but something that I felt so interesting after I finished reading the book was the fact that the title is the Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes. And when you realize, when you think of it, Songbird is Lucy, and when you call a person a snake, is like they're like two-faced, or they've cheated, or like, they've backstabbed you. That's what a person who is called a snake is. And then, of course, we know that a ballad is a song that tells a story. So the title literally translates to the story of Lucy and Snow, which is such an interesting, like, I don't even know. Like, it says the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because the story is wrapped in through ballads, through songbirds, and through snakes. But then you get this little like realization after reading the book that it's also talking about like this, like, unable to express with words, but that was so interesting. Also, I don't think we spoke about Tigress when I was discussing the book, but especially after watching the movie, I think Hunter Schafer has done, like, she's an incredible actress, obviously, but she's done such a good job with Tigress in the book. Sorry, in the movie. She did such a good job, and it really made me feel even more for Tigress than I did in the book, actually. And to think that we've seen Tigress in Mockingjay in the movie and the book, and that final scene we got with Tigress in the movie where Snow asks her, "What do you think about my look?" And she says, like, there's like a little bit of fear in her eyes because she knows the path he's going down. And she says, "You look exactly like a father." And earlier, we know that she was trying to convince him to not be like their father, and all of that. And then we already know what ends up happening with Tigress because of Mockingjay. It's just so sad because we know the sacrifices Tigress has made to give Snow a life. Like some really, really personal, emotional, physical sacrifices that she's had to make. And then for Snow to turn around and become the villain that he did and do that to his own cousin. It's mortifying. I think that's pretty much it for my reviews for the movie because, like I said, the movie is exact as the book, scene by scene, dialogue by dialogue. If there's any one critique I have for the movie, it is just that scene with Viola Davis where Dr. Gall has called Clemmy and Snow into her place in her office where she tells them to retrieve the paper from the snake tank. I think that scene was done better in the book because it's not until the very last moment that we realize that what's really going on in that situation. Until Clemmy has already put her hand in the tank, that we realize that the snakes are gonna bite her because they're not familiar with her scent. And so it really hit you as you're reading the book. But in the movie, she already tells you what's going on before, like, Clemmy has had a chance to put her hand in the tank, and Snow doesn't do it. We don't see Snow putting his hand in the tank. So it doesn't hit as badly as it does in the book, you know. So I think that they could have made that exactly as they did in the book. I think they could have stuck to that. I don't know why they changed it. Apart from that, loved the movie. Loved the movie, loved the songs, the songs. I was afraid that it would become too much like a musical, because there's so much music in the book, and I was not sure how so much music would go with a movie like Hunger Games, but it did. It worked beautifully. Rachel Zegler has a beautiful voice, and the entire soundtrack, like Olivia Rodrigo's song, I'm in love with it. I listen to it every day. Overall, really, really enjoyed it. If any of you are curious about the snakes and my fear about it, it was scary. Thankfully, my sister was with me, so I was holding her hand, and like there was one particular scene that was a little too scary for me to cope with, and she, like, very sweetly, she was like covering my eyes and holding me, and but it was and I was able to get through. I didn't have to leave the theater. So it was fine. It was wonderful. As I've said already, I think, if I have not, I rated the book a 4 out of 5. The movie, I would give like a solid 8 or a 9 out of 10. I'm not sure. I'm so happy. I think I'm back in my Hunger Games obsession era that I was in back in like 2012, 2015. That's all for this video though. Thank you so much for joining. Please, please, please share your thoughts about the book and the movie, because I'm so excited about it. I love it so much and I want to discuss with everyone. So, yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It would mean so much to me. That's a heart. You can complete the other half by subscribing. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.